Hello, I am here answering questions about my Bioshock Infinite theory. I got a new mic. Hopefully the audio quality is better because that last video was awful. So, sorry if the mic is scratchy. I've tried recording this video 6 times now. I finally figured out to use a different program to do it, and ugh, saying the same 15 minutes of stuff over and over and over again. I'm going to jump right into it here. Actually, quick disclaimer. I'm telling you how this works. This is going to sound conceited. I'm telling you how this works. This isn't a discussion board. If you want to discuss your theories with me and we can go back and forth, that's really more meant for a message board. And I have 2 topics up on Game FAQs and 1 Reddit thread in the Bioshock Infinite subreddit. You can find me there. This is really for direct questions about the theory. I have no problem addressing a few other questions here on the comments board. I just don't want it to turn into discussion between commenters because that's difficult for me to filter out, and it's very distracting. And I just kind of rather focus on the people who have questions for me rather than people who have questions for each other. Although I do appreciate everyone's enthusiasm with trying to interpret the story, but really, just listen. I will explain everything because I follow all the rules of the game and leave no plot holes or paradoxes. I'm jumping right into it. Pandas with chainsaws. So when you die before meeting Elizabeth and the press button to open door screen appears, what is going on? It is a gameplay mechanic. Yes, if you die before meeting as Elizabeth and you open the door, you can argue that you're a new Booker in a different universe who didn't step to the left and get shot in the face. But really, since you can play through the entire game without dying, we have to read that as a fun little gameplay mechanic that keeps us going, because if we were punished with having to start over after each one of our failures, we'd be playing Dark Souls. Next question. Burton, based off the scene where you are in Rapture for that brief time, is it another metaphorical lighthouse or tear? Could it possibly be an opposite Columbia, being that Columbia is in the sky, Rapture's in the sea, both suffering from chaos? Or is it simply an Easter egg? I think in this situation it's an Easter egg. It's fan service. The problem is that there is absolutely nothing connecting Rapture to Columbia except for the fact that there's a man, a lighthouse, and a problem to solve. But technically, if I went to the lighthouse and needed to tie my shoe, that's a man, a lighthouse, and a problem to solve. The coincidences are there and the similarities are there, but they are not connected. Because Rapture can still exist in our post-credits universe because that post-credits universe is 30 years prior to Rapture. It's very possible that Rapture could still be invented. And in that way, it wouldn't be connected to Columbia because Columbia doesn't exist. So I'm going to say fan service. Also, addressing a video that's rolling out right now, all the videos showing like Songbird in Bioshock 1 crying out in Cohen's theater. That's not Songbird. It's probably recycled audio, some ambient noise from the past that they decided would make good audio for a character in Bioshock Infinite. It keeps development costs down. Do not read too much into that. There is absolutely no way that they could have known that that would happen unless they were to actually go back and backpatch Bioshock 1 with Songbird audio and it would be super cool if they put his corpse as visible on the seafloor. Like, whoa, where did that come from? What the heck is that thing? Play Bioshock game. Oh, okay. But I don't see them doing that. I think it's fan service. I think it's an Easter egg. It's cool to go back to Rapture because it gave us so many memories. That's it. So that answers a few questions later on as well. E-Unit. As long as there are Comstocks, each Comstock will go to a Booker for a baby, so there was no unsold baby until Comstock didn't exist, then all Anns were safe. I will argue this. Not every Comstock is going to go after a baby, because not every Comstock is going to succeed in his quest to get Columbia made. I'm sure there are probably going to end up being universes where Columbia is never made, that Comstock exists in. Even still, there's probably going to be just a myriad of different possibilities. There's a whole lot of Bookers. And there's a whole lot of Comstocks, and it is improper to think that every Comstock succeeds in getting the baby. We just have to go with the 4 basic timelines when we examine this, because if we were to take the time to explore every universe, we would be here forever. So it seems like a cop-out explanation, but the truth of the matter is, that's what we've got. Let's see. E-Unit then keeps going on. You said Comstock made Booker go into debt. Was this actually said in game? Yes. Lutece, when you hand over the baby, he says Mr. Comstock wipes away your debts. So obviously there's a connection between Booker and Comstock there in one universe. I thought you said there's a Booker who sold a baby and a Booker who didn't, and the drowning Booker, when she did made the Booker who sold the baby. Okay, hold on. I'm saying that the Booker who sold the baby ceasing to exist and the one who didn't staying in existence is false, because even not selling the baby is a decision based on Comstock's presence in his universe. No. Because think about it. Couldn't you also not sell the baby if Comstock wasn't in your universe? It's kind of like you can go to Walmart and you can buy something or you can not buy something. You can also not go to Walmart. It's still going to result in you not buying something. And that's the argument here. There are Bookers who never encounter Comstock and who never sell their baby. Likewise, there could very well be Bookers who encounter Comstock and choose not to sell their baby, but in the end, any universe influenced by Comstock gets erased, so it doesn't matter. We're only left with one possible outcome. Let's see. Just one thing, this is still E-Unit. When Elizabeth drowns you, they drown the Booker who would have accepted the baptism and turned into Comstock. The Booker who have denied the baptism was left alive. This means all of the infinite Comstocks that could have existed after that point ceased to exist because they were killed at their root. So in the original timeline where you sell Anne, you never sold Anne because there was no Comstock to sell to. That actually is the whole point of what I said before. Let's see. You say Elizabeth uses Googling ability to find new worlds, and yet Liz pulled through Lady Comstock's ghost, which reflected her feelings against her, as she stated in game, hinting that she created her. She said the same thing about zombie-like dudes in Psycho Asylum. How can this work with the Googling theory? She doesn't actually create Lady Comstock. Elizabeth does not understand her powers. She guesses at her powers. It would be better to think that when you pull Lady Comstock through, that it is a being caught between dimensions. One that is powered up by being infused with pure universe-bending energy. The siphon is a crazy machine. It literally limits your power to manipulate the universe. We don't know the extent of what it can do. Again, it seems like a cop-out explanation, but when you combine a corpse with a living entity from a different universe and infuse that entity with the power to change universes, you get a crazy thing that happens to be a ghost. I don't think the emotions have anything really to do with it, honestly. I think it just happens to attack you because who else is around to attack? No one. No one in that whole section of the game is even around. So, yeah. Let's see. We've already addressed Rapture. Airtails is a great comment that goes along with helping my explanation. The Elite Gur, you assume that time is a linear progression of cause to effect. From a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more of a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. Again, Chef Jason McGoldrick says, a plot hole is supposed to be about multiple universes, but all of a sudden she's a time traveler too. Let me show you why they're one and the same. Using my magnetic pole analogy, again, I'm going to draw the top of a magnet here. I'm going to show one field line extending out and another field line extending out. Okay? Now, let's put us on the inner timeline. Let's say that we make it to right here where that little circle is. Let's call this amount of distance 5 years. That little arch, we've traveled 5 5 years. It's hard to do in a webcam. Now let's travel to a parallel universe. See, we've come across here. So now this length of distance here, this large arch that goes up and over, that's much longer than this little one. That could be 15, 20 years that's passed. They're parallel, but they exist at different times. Consider it taking the universal scenic route. It's how we can jump from 1912 to 1984 and back to 1912 without much time passing. That's the trouble that we're in. We flip-flop between universes that aren't perfectly aligned. Dragon Ball Z did the same thing. Trunks went back in time to save everyone from Cell and the androids, but little did we know that he actually jumped into a different timeline. So when they fixed everything in the past and he jumped back to the future, his timeline was still screwed up because the timelines exist in different parallel universes entirely. She's not being a time traveler. She's not going back and forth through time. She's going across universes that happen to exist at different times. And this is why she's not a time traveler, and why the multiple universes theory still holds up, and why that is all explained. Darks117. I suppose that if you isolate the game from reality and chaos theory, the story would fit together rather neatly. There are complications such as forcing memory adaptations each time an interdimensional jump occurs, the notion that every Booker is the same, every Booker is always a different person through each variable change. The end is impossible because choice doesn't ever cancel out a single reality. Yes, it does. They take you to a world between worlds. The baptism that they go to kill Booker is not the actual baptism. Where's the priest? Where are the other people? Why is there a weird little door on a hill standing alone? It's not the same place. It is a place born of the intense tearing of the universe, a place that can influence a prior timeline. We're stepping out into some really metaphysical stuff here. There's also not, I mean, think about it. There's not a real place with 1 billion lighthouses. Like, nobody in any universe ever thought, like, you know what, I'm going to build 100 billion lighthouses here. And while I'm here, I'm going to build wooden bridges that build themselves. That's not a real place. It's a place caught between worlds. And so is the location of the final acceptance baptism, as somebody so eloquently put it on the comment section. It's not that they can't cancel out. It's that this particular plane allows for the canceling out of certain timelines. They choose to erase Comstock. All Comstock influenced timelines therefore become erased, leaving only non-Comstock influenced timelines. I think that time exists as complex interactions between subatomic particles macroscopically coalescing into cosmological interactions, eventually taking the form of the human mind. Then time is forcefully perceived by the biological structure of our brain to be linear. The true reality is that everything is happening at once. Yes, we just observe a fraction of it in a myopic view. The real plot hole is that the universe is even more complex in reality than in this video game. Well, first off, you're talking about reality versus a video game, so it's not a plot hole. That's just you being obtuse to the idea that you're trying to apply real-world notions to a video game. In retrospect, let's just say that Halo is stupid because there's not an alien race that's going around and trying to kill us. Also, this still explains everything. So no plot holes, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Jedi Philip is my favorite commenter ever. He tried to troll me. I responded to every single question he had. My favorite question of his: why is everyone impressed with Elizabeth's facial expressions when Half-Life 2 did exactly the same thing in 2006? It actually did the same thing in 2004 when it was actually released, so good on you. Secondly, it does them better. That's the trick. Nobody talks about how Half-Life 2 is just copying off of the first-person shooter that Wolfenstein 3D started, because Half-Life 2 did it better. That's the trick. It does it better. So Bioshock Infinite does facial expressions better than Half-Life 2 because Half-Life 2 was made in 2004 and the graphics look like crap now. So, thanks. Finally, we have some more that I want to get into, and I'll get into it in another post. Just real quick, there are not infinite choices. You cannot make whatever choice you want to make. There are certain instances that you're always going to run into. If you approach me on the street, there's no universe where I won't accept $100 from you for free, no strings attached. That's a choice, but I'm always going to make the same choice, and that's where the constants come in. Some things always happen. That answers a lot of blanket sort of comments towards the end and the newest stuff. Thanks for watching. I'm going to post new videos. Let me know what you want to see from me. Game reviews, whatever. I have a lot of insight. I've been gaming for ever since I was like 1.5 years old. I had a Game Boy in my hands. Let me know what you want to see. I can provide a lot of insight for you. Let me know. Thanks for watching. Ask more questions in the comment section. I'll get back to you. Toodaloo.